Everyone, my name is Jayaditya. This is an update on the current state of my AI project or project J.A.V.I.S. It's grown a lot since the last video, so today I'm going to walk through everything that's new. As a refresher, J.A.V.I.S is fully local and it's a privacy first personal assistant. It runs on a custom UI, authenticates with Windows Hello or a PIN, and everything like the backend, the language model, and the voice model runs on device. Nothing goes to the cloud unless I explicitly ask it to search the web. Since the last version, the biggest additions include a dual model local backend with GPU acceleration now available, a dedicated math engine, 7 distinct assistant skill modes, including a fully agentic coder, a built in web search persona, an in app browser, and a much more cleaner UI for both the authentication screen and the application screen. So let's go through each one. So as you can see, firstly, J.A.V.I.S now has a refined UI, with the lock screen having a persistent window which does not allow for other applications to block it on screen, which gives it priority. It also very closely resembles its internal UI, making it much cleaner and more aesthetically pleasing. So the authentication step is still the same, and for this, I'll prefer the PIN. So now the UI will take a few moments to confirm the model has been loaded and everything is ready before loading the application. So now let's go over the entire application itself since it's been redesigned enormously. J.A.V.I.S has multiple personalities up here in this bar. Let me full screen. Up here in this bar. And the color is changeable through this button over here. The transparency itself is changeable over here. And this is the settings menu button right over here. So in the settings, I can also change the accent color over here, and can more precisely change the Windows opacity depending on what I want. So now I can set it to a specific number instead of having to go by the preset values. And in this in the settings, I also have the option to toggle typewriter replies over here. And this makes the replies less chunkier by utilizing letter by letter output rather than more blockier word for word replies. And I can also change the typewriter speed, which, as you can see down here, more to the left means much faster responses, but more blockier responses, but more to the right means little slower responses, but much smoother letter by letter responses. I also have the option to change my identity down here. And as you can see, that is used to provide a personalized message depending on the date and the time over here. It is also used by the model to address the user. So let me return to settings. Now down here, I have the option between a male and a female text to speech voice, and this is depending on my preference. And below that, I have the option to change between the fast model or the advanced model. Currently, I've set it to the advanced model, and I have the option to unload or load the model, which frees up the RAM and the VRAM. And this is specifically useful if you decide to use the browser functionality. Let me demonstrate. So as you can see, I got a toast message which says the model is being unloaded and the model is now not loaded. And to load the model, you click this button. It won't allow you to click either the opposite button um, if the model is loaded, to ensure that two instances are not started at the same time. So now the model is loaded. You can set a password for two-factor authentication over here, And down here, you can enable that two-factor authentication by setting either the password only or the password and the Windows hello. And you have the option to export your chats as a zip file or permanently erase them from this device. So I can delete the chats over here. As you can see, it gives me a delete all chats, and then I can say yes, I'm sure, but I have 0 chats. Now for this, I can export my chats, but there's no chats to export currently, and I'll just save my settings right over here. Um, So under the hood, as I mentioned before, J.A.V.I.S now runs 2 local models instead of 1, which is a fast model for everyday conversation and an advanced model with visible step-by-step reasoning for harder questions. I can switch between them from the UI, and the app automatically detects my GPU, calculates how many layers it can safely offload, and falls back gracefully to the CPU if needed. And math also has its own path entirely. So, straightforward problems such as factoring a polynomial can get solved deterministically and verified by expanding the answer back out. So, there's no risk of the language model hallucinating a wrong step. So, for example, factor x squared plus 2x plus 1. So, as you can see down here, it verifies, it also factors it out for you. And let's go over one more example. Derivative of sine of x. As you can see, it's instantaneous. It is its own model, and it doesn't require the language model to be active. So if the model doesn't understand a question, like for example, what is 10 squared, where this is kind of phrased vaguely, um, the advanced model will take over and respond with the correct answer. And as you can see, it auto named the chat, which is a feature that is being currently which I'm currently progressing on. And this is where the specialized model will take over. As you can see, you can also see the model that is being used. In this case, is the J.A.V.I.S Advanced. The tokens, 11 tokens were used, and you can copy the message down here. Um, So this is probably the biggest change up here. J.A.V.I.S has multiple modes, which is J.A.V.I.S Casual, which references a dictionary from online to use Gen Z or Gen Alpha slang, and Coder, which allows you to code. You can save over here. You can open the different files over here, and you can run the different files over here. Um, yep, so this is the workspace. You can create new files over here too. You also have an agent mode, which basically creates code depending on what you ask. It attempts to verify itself at least once. You also have the web intelligence mode over here, which conducts a search. Let me try to demonstrate. Um, so let's give it a question. What is the current weather in? So this is still a work in progress feature. It will take its time and attempt to do a search. Um, and if it can't do it accurately, it will tell you to do so. But generally, this would appear over here as a search. We'll go over this a little later. Um, Also uses the J.A.V.I.S advanced model. Um, so let's go to the browser. So there's now a built-in browser just in case J.A.V.I.S is not able to fully respond accurately. And since that's a work in progress, you can do any searches you want here. For example, what is the weather in Maryland? And you will get the response over here. You can also add new tabs up here, close tabs over here. You can exit the browser over here, enter the browser from here. You can reload over here, go to the new tab over here, go back in front over here. And that is the browser feature. And you can't exit out of the first tab you have. You can only exit out of existing tabs. So, for example, if I wanted to close this out, it'll just return me to the home page. And I'm using DuckDuckGo because it's private. It is also reliable from my experience. Um, Now let us go over the chat feature itself. As you can see, it named itself up here, and that is a bit of a work in progress, but it attempts to take the context it has from two or three messages and name the chat using a smaller model in the background. This also can be shortened or lengthened over here so that you have more space to work with J.A.V.I.S. You also have the option to add a skill. You can type the skill name over here. You can give it a prompt, and J.A.V.I.S will act accordingly. And this online selection over here, this now actually has a function. It checks for the model files and ensures that everything's online. If the model failed to initialize, then it will turn red and it'll say offline, which indicates that the model hasn't physically loaded. And that ensures that the user has something to at least diagnose. They will be aware of an issue. So this is version 3 of the application. Thank you so much for watching. Um, and I will post updates on the work in progress functionalities from this video and demonstrate the fast models in other videos that are to come later. Um, Thank you.